Welcome back to some more Himatsubushi. So where we last left off, we arrived in the Hinamizawa village, in which of course we did manage to see a blockade. And they were like, oh, what kind of car was that and all that shit, because Oishi was driving a different car instead of the actual the police car. But yeah, all this shit aside, let's continue reading. Ahead of where we were stopped were several signs. Gee, what signs we got? Private property beyond, no trespassing. Beware of poisonous snakes. Nobody told me there's snakes in Hinamizawa. Danger, turn back. Intruders will be charged an entry fee of 1,000,000 yen. What the hell? Nobody told me. Who the fuck charges 1,000,000 fucking yen? Signs were erected there with things like that written on them. The road was separated from the forest by a chain link fence wrapped in barbed wire. Since this is private property, this is as far as we go. There's several surveillance cameras set up further in. Saying that we just got lost won't work with these guys. They're beyond here, right? The people currently controlling Hanamizawa and the Unikafuchi Defense Alliance were neither the Kimiyoshi family nor the Furu family, but the last of the three. Yeah, beyond here is one of the three families, the Sonozaki family. They're the ones controlling Hanamizawa from the shadows. Among the list of executives recorded in the documents, the number of people with last names from the three families was quite high. Of course, Sonozaki was no exception. However, at the top was the Kimiyoshi family. If the Kimiyoshi family seemed to be in charge, the rulers behind the scenes were the Sonozaki family. This double-layered structure implicitly told me that this village had both a light and a dark side. The current head of the Sonozaki family is an old lady named Oreo. She has enough clout that you could call her Empress Sonozaki. Empress? Be careful, she's no small fry. She's enough of a VIP that even the mayor of the city has to bow before her. Well, in Hamizawa and the surrounding area, their relatives amount to a block of several thousand votes. No politician could show disrespect for that. In other words, that would make her the actual leader of the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance, right? You've got it. With those words, Oishi pulled out a well-worn cigarette box. The suspect the kidnapping of the minister's grandchild and subfrequent threats. Were these part of the hidden plot by the Onikafuchi Defense Alliance in order to have the Hinawazawa Dam project cancelled? You came all the way from Tokyo to investigate this, didn't you? Huh? Yeah, that's right. Something the matter? Then, is it related to that direct appeal incident with the Minister Inugai? If that's the case, then public safety has them marked on the watch list? Something like that? Having you guess that so quickly makes this easy. While exhaling out cigarette smoke, Oishi smiled broadly, like I just pulled a good one on him. Or so I thought. His smile disappeared suddenly. That's a lie, isn't it? Huh? I mean, the direct appeal putting them on the watch list. That's a lie, isn't it? What? Oishi knew there was no way that Tokyo HQ would dispatch an investigator over something as minor as a direct appeal. If they were to dispatch someone, it had to be for a more dire reason. He had figured out as much. I thought of myself as the type of person who doesn't let things show on their face. In front of his watchful gaze, however, I felt that what I was thinking was completely laid bare. Oishi silently lit another cigarette as if waiting for me to interject during this awkward pause. I see, so this was a veteran detective's way of getting someone to spill information. But as long as I realized this, there would be nothing more. If I didn't open my mouth, I wouldn't have to lose anything. All I had to do was stare out the window and enjoy the scenery while until Oishi gave up. You really are bad at hiding things, you know. Being so young and earnest isn't so bad. Oishi smirked as he twisted out his third cigarette, while I tried not to let him notice that I had yielded completely. At first I thought I had won, but at the very least Oishi had ascertained that I was hiding something, meaning that I might have ended up marching to his tune. Oishi started up the engine once again and began to move through the car. you'd just been honest with me, I thought I might have been able to help you. How would you help? If the cat was out of the bag, I might as well use it to catch some mice. Well, all this depends on what we're talking about, but I might be able to set you up with someone who's knowledgeable about the goings-on in Hinamizawa. An informant? I see, is that what you call it? Why are you interested in my case, Oishi-san? Well, I'm the same as you. Isn't it our business to know things? Being able to meet with Oishi's informant was an extremely compelling opportunity. We were looking to recruit somebody familiar with the area to collaborate with for intelligence. In the end, there was no better method for finding people than asking. We were always taught, however, that the rank-and-file police were no better than monkeys. Unlike us, they were careless with confidential cases. We looked down on them like they'd run their mouth off in a drunken stupor. Oishi was an outlaw even amongst them, and here I was lost on whether or not I should tell him about the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. This informant, exactly how knowledgeable are they about the Unikafuchi defense lines? This informant, exactly how knowledgeable are they about the ODA? Nah, if you're from public safety, you'd know, wouldn't you? Something like that is something I can't just tell you. Protect your sources. That was the principle of dealing with confidential information. In that regard, it seemed that Oishi wasn't one of those monkeys. Should I trust him? Ask for his help or not? It's just that you work for the feds and I work for the prefecture. I don't think that our jobs are that different. I think it can be of help. However, I had trouble believing that this crafty old man would simply help me just like he claimed. I find it hard to believe that someone of your standing would help me out without strings attached. Well, it's not like I'm completely without an ulterior motive. As I recall, you guys have space in your budget allocated to pay informants, right? Something you don't need to submit a receipt for. Just a little bit of that would be the cost of meeting with the informant. In other words, give the compensation earmarked for the informant to you first. Well, it helps that the details of this deal are so clear-cut. He certainly was something else for being able to brazenly state his ulterior motive like this. Rather than him doing this out of the kindness of his heart, everything was a lot clearer if he was being compensated for this deal. I felt that he was the type of man who was good at these backroom dealings. Don't misunderstand me, please. It's not me who needs the money, it's the informant, okay? Well, in regards to the payment, I'll be handling the money. When do you want it? Right now would be good. If you don't have it on you, tomorrow works as well. I pulled out a wallet that was different from my personal one. The price was pretty much fixed depending on what kind of information I was paying for. In this case, the payment was up front. Also, considering the fact I didn't know what kind of info I would get, I shouldn't pay too much. When I suggested that, Oishi suddenly stretched out his hand and tightly grasped the contents of the wallet. In times like this, it's best for you not to be so stingy. It's alright, it won't go to waste. I understand, I won't be stingy. And? What kind of information are you looking for? Depending on what you want. Depending on what you what. How we approach this will probably change. You swear you won't spread this information to anybody else, Oishi-san? I can't swear as much. I'm the same as you. I can't withhold information obtained during the course of my duties. I got it, I swear. Nothing here gets said anywhere else. On top of that, thanks to you, I can pay back what I owe from my mahjong debts. In any case, I won't break a promise that involves money. I was still unsure if I should trust him until the very last moment, but in the end, I broke down. Oishi wasn't the type of guy I could trust 100%, but there was no mistaking he had access to underground information networks. In order to accomplish my mission swiftly, I needed his cooperation. I set my resolve. I'm investigating whether or not the ODA is related to a certain incident. Certain incident? There's a possibility that the Minister of Construction, Inugai, is being coerced by someone. Saying there's a possibility is kind of a roundabout way of putting it. It appears there is a mole close to the Minister, and due to that mole, the Minister had been monitored quite thoroughly, and was seemingly forced to cede to their threats right away. None of this was reported to us or the police. I see. So that's why you're saying there's only a possibility he's being coerced. In that case, isn't it a little strange? If the minister didn't report this to anybody, how did you guys know about this incident? If we didn't spy on the minister's private life, we would have never found out. I don't think we have to provide that explanation to the informant, so I'm omitting it. Oishi had apparently caught on and quietly chuckled when I refused to explain. I see. There's a spy close to the minister, so public safety made it a highly classified investigation. That certainly isn't a very amicable story, is it? If this matter became public, not only would this affect the minister's political career, but the possibility of there being a shift in the political landscape is extremely high. If the perpetrator's aim is indeed that, then this could develop into a very grave situation. Well, with the government having development projects all over the country, they've butted heads with quite a few people. It wouldn't take much wrongdoing for the left-wing parties to suddenly garner more support. We're currently investigating what demands are being forced on the minister, but at least we have a good idea of how he's being threatened. How he's being threatened. How? The minister's grandson was kidnapped. They're denying it, but judging from what was last seen, it's believed it's already been over 72 hours since the kidnapping. So, 3 days. If they were just after ransom money, this would have been settled by now. Maybe, maybe this isn't for monetary gain. The possibility that they're forcing the minister to do something politically is extremely high. That's something we just can't consent to. So then the ODA was listed as one of the possible perpetrators. That is correct. Kidnap the minister's grandson and demand the cancellation of the dam project. What do you think, Oishi-san? From your point of view, do you think that's possible? Oishi seemed to ponder the idea for a while. The section chief at the regional office had responded immediately with, "It's possible." However, Oishi, who was this well informed about the matter, was hemming and hawing. Finally, just a little bit, he said something that was really just a little bit strange. This was before the Meiji era, you see. This area wasn't named Hinamizawa Village back then. It was called Onikafuchi. This is just what I heard from my grandmother. This topic was so completely and suddenly unrelated to the subject of the kidnapping of the minister's grandson that I was taken slightly aback. Onikafuchi? So that's why they're called the ODA. You see, the village of Onikafuchi was said to be inhabited by demons that devoured humans. Oh gee, I wonder how many chapters I already heard this mentioned before. Even now it's believed that the blood of these demons partially courses through the veins of the villagers. The demons that devour humans? Oishi-san, what are you saying? It's information. Oh boy. I got a lot from you just now. A little too much. In exchange, I'm giving you a little freebie. Oishi finally smiled, but it didn't seem like he was fooling around. Please continue. You see, these human devouring demons, normally they were just revered as Taoist transcendents and lived tucked away from the rest of the world. But they ate people after all, so apparently they go to villages in the foothills regularly and abduct their prey. They used to call that being demoned away or onikakushi. Demoned away. It was the first time I heard such a peculiar phrase. However, I felt something slightly ominous from this horrifying tale of demons abducting people in order to eat them. Look, you know how there's the common phrase, spirit away? When people suddenly go missing one day, they call it that. When the same thing happens around here, they call it being demoned away. How does that old tale relate to the matter at hand? Oh no, there's no direct relationship. I'm just making some small talk here. It's just... Ka-thump, ka-thump. The car shook. At some point, the gravel road had changed to a paved one. It's just what? That around here, the phrase demoned away is somewhat of a code for disappearance and kidnappings. Disappearances and kidnappings. I just thought I mentioned that. I don't know if this has anything to do with the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Well, there's no deep meaning behind it. It's just, there's that little bit of history. Onikakushi. Human-eating demons coming down to the foothills and abducting their prey. Then, in order to cancel the dam project that threatened to submerge the village they lived in, did they demon away the minister's grandson? Then, had they already made an example out of the minister's grandson and eaten him alive? Ha 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 ha. It's a bit of an interesting old tale, isn't it? If you set foot into the demon's village without reason, you'll probably be captured and eaten alive. So don't go near Onikafuchi. Kids these days wouldn't have these superstitions, would they? Even amongst the older folk in Okonomiya born in the Meiji era, there's quite a few who wouldn't heed these warnings. Hinamizawa village was feared by the people in the area. I recall that piece of information I heard from the Prefectural Public Safety Division. In any case, we're in the boonies out here. It's kind of expected that there would be some superstitions around. Somebody from Tokyo like you, Akasaka-san, probably wouldn't even begin to imagine it, could you? The man-eating demons, as the price for violating the sanctity of their village, kidnapped the minister's grandson and swallowed them whole. That ludicrous area flew through my head. It was so absurd I was half disgusted with myself. Oishi was just teasing me. Stupid. It was all really so stupid. Come to think of it, by then, I may have already been seized by the curse of that dubious village. For me to realize that would take a little more time. You have received new tips, phone call with Yuki, a record of opening remarks, gears and fire, and a taste of honey, and chick in the trunk. So, first achievement. So far. Alright. This is like part 3 or some shit. Alright, let's look at some new tips. Phone call with... Oh god, look at this shit. Phone call with Yuki. Oh really? It's tough when it's such a sudden assignment. Please be careful. Where are you headed? You already there? Whenever I headed out on assignment, she would ask where. Not just Yuki, but anybody would have asked the same question. If it was a cold place, she would urge me to pack a thick jacket. If it was far, she warned me to be careful on the drive over. It was just normal everyday concern that led to asking such an obvious thing. I felt sad that I couldn't answer such a run-of-the-mill question. Sorry, it's something that you can't talk about, isn't it? Please be careful. Sorry, Yuki. At some point, you started apologizing right away, even though when you first started your job, you were all gung-ho about it. Yuki laughed as though she had realized something. At times like this, Yuki had the magical power to see right through me. It's already been quite a while since I was admitted to the hospital. Are you finally getting lonely? Don't tease me. I'm too old to get lonely. Oh, really? You actually like to be doted on, don't you? Don't you start getting a little faint of heart when I'm not around? Aw, jeez. I can see the little devil horns sprouting from your head right now. You've always been like this. You can't hide it, you can't hide it. If I don't play with you, you get all lonely. I can hear your tail wagging over the phone. This side of Yuki wasn't something you could guess existed from seeing her usual modest behavior, and it was something that she didn't know to anybody else but me. Normally I poke her to hide my embarrassment and bring an end to the conversation, but I couldn't do that over the phone. Of course, Yuki was clever. She was teasing me because of that. I wonder when I figured out that giving you grief was this much fun. Give me a break. In any case, it's good to hear you so lively. I know, right? Did I cheer you up? I had called Yuki to keep her from feeling lonely when she was by herself in the hospital room. Of course, that was nothing more than a pretense that I, being shy, had come up with. It seemed that Yuki had long since seen through that act. Yeah. Please phone again. When I'm not feeling up to it, I'll get my father to talk with you. Although, if you're talking with my father, I get the feeling that you'd be standing at attention on the other side of the line. For a while longer, Yuki kept teasing me without letting me end the call. That's it? Alright, a record of opening remarks. Chairman something, members of the something party, congratulations are due. as we are celebrating 25 years since our founding. These past 25 years have been much growth in something prefecture. The once quiet scenery of nothing but fields now has seen the opening of a new stop for the bullet train, and with the development of the highway, we've seen the rebirth of a modern city bursting with youthful energy. We've reaped the benefits of new businesses and industry, and with the special reverence the residents of something prefecture have for time-honored traditions. History and culture, business and industry, with these ideals in harmony, they have accomplished in growing their city into one of Japan's foremost metropolises. Of course, the development of something prefecture couldn't have happened without the growth of the something party. We are resolved to see every one of our campaign promises to fruition, reaching our targets definitely and exponentially like arrows fired from a bow. With these arrows as the fundamental basis of the something party, our members have sought to pierce the obstructions preventing the happiness of the residents of something prefecture. But I do believe that everybody here is unlike an ordinary arrow. While being an unfaltering and straightforward, we have not neglected in seeking solutions that conform to the current day and age while also keeping an eye on the future. An arrow once loosed can only fly to its destination. Everyone here, however, is no simple arrow, even once loosed from the bow without neglecting our studies, while employing new methods and implementing more effective and flexible arrows, thus being able to change trajectories mid-flight. We are magical arrows. The modern age marches ever forward. Sometimes it marches faster than the time taken from planning to execution. The following part was not in the script. It is thought to have been ad-libbed by the minister. For example, there have recently been numerous problems with the Hinamizawa power plant project. Rather than forcing through the project solely because it was decided upon by the government, it is necessary to reflect on and adjust to the ever-changing needs of the residents, the region, and the next generation. The protests by the local residents that surround the Hinamizawa Dam, these are also the will of the people of something prefecture. If you feel that there is no need to listen because the project has already been finalized, then you do nothing more than shed a poor light on Japan's post-war democracy. The following is as per the script. For the lasting happiness of the citizens of Japan and the residents of something prefecture, please consider these policies thoroughly. I believe, however, we have all gained something from the flexibility and foresight of the something party. I've taken up much of your time. However, allow me to say the following to celebrate the 25th anniversary of our founding. Chairman Something, members of the Something Party in attendance, thank you very much for today. From the opening remarks of the Something Party Prefectural Forum and 25th anniversary celebration. And second tip done, gears and fire and the taste of honey. Why is it all red? The world is filled with people blessed with relationships. Of course, that doesn't mean that everyone is connected to each other. It's obvious that on the other side of the planet, there are people laughing and crying who can't possibly have an effect on you. However, in the extremely limited community of the neighborhood, that sort of connection is just a matter of fact. It's quite possible that a single remarkable event could have massive consequences inside a small community. If you were to increase that in scale, a perfect stranger on the other side of the globe might become enough of a legend to have an effect on our lives. Well, it's not always that way. Like I said at the beginning, the links between people basically aren't that relevant in the grand scheme of things. Whether some houseful nearby is having steak or croquettes, doesn't matter to me. When I put on my shoes, it doesn't matter to anybody whether I put the right one on first or the left. This much the average person can't understand. But actually, in reality, this is the truth. The bonds between people are quite well defined. It's not just a matter of distance, of being far or near. For example, let's say that person A's actions have some effect on me. Even then, person B's action could have absolutely no consequence on my life. The reverse also holds true. Just because my actions affect person A, that doesn't always mean that they affect person B as well. Let's put it bluntly. If the bonds between people are like gears in a machine, the gear that represents me meshes with some people, but is isolated from others. There are some who would try arguing against this. Those people would bring up the example of gears in a clock. Each gear, indeed, only directly meshes with one or two others. However, if you rotate one gear, the one next to it is moved, which connects to the next one, and the next. In the end, all the gears are moving. There is a logic behind this, more than enough to convince the average person. Why is the argument convincing? The answer is simple. The relationships between people are ambiguous and can only be described conceptually. How the gears are connected and how their movements are chained together can't be used as a fundamental explanation, so it throws a wet blanket on that argument. So for the people who like that explanation, I'll use the example of a clock again to refute it. First of all, to say that this world is a singular clock would be wrong. That is, there isn't only one clock. There exist many clocks in this world, each counting their own time. If you think about it, the idea that this world is just one big clock is the height of arrogance. Even if you use the analogy of gears to explain human relationships, then you should be able to explain it using an analogy of multiple clocks unrelated to a single gear. Neighbors A and B. A is the gear in the same clock as me, so it's best to remain civil. B is a gear in a different clock, so he doesn't really matter to me at all. That's the kind of clear distinction I'm talking about. You want to say I'm being fallacious? Then let's change the analogy to something more familiar so you can understand. You've probably heard the phrase, a fire on the opposite shore, sometime in your life, no? For example, if your neighbor's house was on fire, you'd probably try and help to put it out, wouldn't you? It would be awful if the fire spread and burned down in your own house, after all. But what if that fire was in a town on the opposite side of a river? Would you still go out of your way to help? You wouldn't, would you? Even though it would be a wrong thing to do, there's no way the fire could spread to your own house. Even if it turned into a huge conflagration, there's no relation between the houses that will spread fire to yours and those that won't. With this basic example, you should be able to see the difference between gears that are or aren't related to your own. Having said that, there's still a lot to think about, even without a river to divide it. After all, it's not a spatial problem like being on the other side of the river, is it? So third tip is done. I don't know why, but they didn't add in the red stuff. The chick in the trunk. I don't know. The hell? The car had stopped, but he didn't know any more than that. For not only was he blindfolded, but locked in the trunk of the car. How could people become this powerless just by being robbed of their sight? He absolutely wouldn't have known this without experiencing it firsthand. He soon realized it was pointless to try and undo his bonds, with the confines of the trunk quickly making him lightheaded. He had no choice but to let this mild torture dull his senses. That's why when the car stopped and the unpleasant vibration ceased as the engine was killed, he couldn't help but delude himself that he was being set free, even though nothing had been resolved in reality. Of course, he was soon removed from that delusion. He strained his ears when he heard one of the men who had abducted him and an older man he was hearing for the first time strike up a conversation. "Nice to see you. The chick is in the trunk." He struggles so much that he's probably exhausted right now, but there's not a mark on him, just as ordered. Oh, must have been a handful. The trunk opened, letting in a blast of fresh, cool air. Even though up until just now he had been thinking about getting out of that stuffy trunk, when it was actually opened, he suddenly became uneasy. Enough so that he wished that the lid of the trunk would once again close, separating himself from them. Suddenly, somebody struck his head. Of course, since he was blindfolded, he couldn't tell if the hand was petting him or simply evaluating how easy it would be to remove his scalp. Unable to tell the difference, he could only freeze as he imagined the worst-case scenario. Poor little bugger. He's shaking. Just stay calm for a bit. The older man said that kindly as he gently stroked the boy's head. "This must be real tough for you, but you see, your Gramps is a nice man. It'll help you soon enough." Having heard nothing but the average standard dialect his whole life, the older man's distant intonation left a deep impression on the boy, but he had no idea what he was saying. For your Gramps to register as meaning your grandfather took a while to process. Eventually, the hand that was stroking his head loosened the blindfold. Can't keep his eyes covered. If he splits his face open, it'll be bad. And with that, You might as well take out the gag. He can he can't breathe like that. It'll be trouble if he yells. Leave him to us. Jeez, you guys don't know how to treat somebody. The main family said no rough stuff. You better remember the well. Yeah, he won't do anything stupid. As long as the kid cooperates, that is. The man's hand prodded wrathfully and repeatedly at the boy's head. A rugged hand, unlike the affectionate one that had been stroking his head before. Just stay cooperative. If you struggle, there's no guarantee that what will happen. The cliched threat was literally beaten into his head. So opening remarks, the anniversary. So according to the chick in the, when I look at the title of the tip, the chick in the trunk, I thought somebody like kidnapped a woman or something. But no, when I read it, it says that whoever, I don't know if it's the local mobsters. I think the local mobsters like kidnapped the minister's son and put him in the trunk is what happened. So let's look at all tips. Why do we get this creepy, eerie music? Okay, whatever. So next part, we're gonna move on to chapter 2 of part 2 of the Himatsubushi. So, like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day.